Yo, 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 back again. Another episode of Shoot the Shit. Landy was popping, was good.
Ah, that Sixers game, that's what's good. But nah, good to be here again for another week.
Yeah, man. So I was kind of anticipated. I know when Embiid got hurt, it almost took a little bit air out the balloon a little bit, but the Sixers kept winning, and so that set the stage. I let you go off on your tangent. Speak your piece, man.
Well, of course, it was a big game, playoff type atmosphere, but it's not the playoffs yet. So I'll say, we can enjoy the moment for today. But after today is back to business. 3 more games to play. We got goals, man. We have 49 wins with 3 games to play. We want to at least get to 50. But it is good to be in the 3rd seed with the last 3 games being, a winnable 2 out of 3. The Milwaukee game, we'll see. They should be good with Dallas and the other game. So, who knows? Maybe we win out and finish, with 16 straight. That'd be some good momentum going into the playoffs. But,
Yeah.
Just finish strong, man. You just want to finish strong. That's the main thing. But this was a good character win tonight. I'll say that.
All right. So let's peel the onion back, so to speak, the different layers. So your emotions when they were up by 30. What was your thought process? What was your feeling?
Well,
where you at with that?
Seeing the big lead early, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. But, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself because I remember what happened with that Golden State game earlier when we were running laps around them, and it's like, oh, this in the bag. And then they did what they did. And seems like lately the Cavs have been like Chucky from Child's Play. Like, they don't die, man. Like, you could think that you didn't put them take them behind the shed. And I mean, look at down the stretch. All right, so yeah, we're up like almost 30 points at halftime, 20-something points. Even in the 4th quarter, up by like 10. Next thing you know, I blinked. It's 5. Then it's a 1-point game, and I'm like, here we go. But you almost expect it. Lately, they've been doing that. Even that Washington Wizards game from the night before, I thought Washington had that thing wrapped up. And then I walked away and came back and saw that they lost. So, this any team that has LeBron on it, it's always going to be in the game for the most part. So it's just a testament to him and to the players that he's around. I didn't think it'd be a cakewalk going into it, but the fact that we were able to still hang on to the lead and win, that's what good teams do. Like, whether, if you can win the ugly games and win close games, to me, that says a lot. Because in the past, we would have lost this game after blowing the lead like that. So the fact that they hung on and won, even if it was in dramatic fashion, I call it a character win. Definitely a character win.
All right. So we go from the euphoria of being up by 30, almost up by 30 at halftime, to the point where it was a couple of seconds left, up by 3. Kevin Love does what Kevin Love does. I mean, almost 3/4 of the length of the court pass to LeBron. LeBron does a step back, puts up the 3. Covington fouls him. 3 free throws. Where was you at emotionally at that point?
Unbelievable. I mean, I was sitting here in the dining room, and my Lisa was sitting here. All I could do was laugh, but like in disbelief. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, of all scenarios, you down 3, you foul this dude, you give him 3 free throws. I'm sitting here thinking like, well, this is gonna be automatic. You're gonna ice these things. I'm like, I'd rather you have at least, if you're gonna foul him before the shot, or just let him chuck it, but don't foul him on the shot. So I'm looking like, around the lose if this thing go to overtime. But when he missed that second one, I'm like, the basketball guys were with us today. That was. Right. I guess that's just in Philadelphia fashion, man. It's never easy. I mean, even going back to the Super Bowl, like, it had to come down to the last couple seconds. That's just how it goes here. They gotta put us through the ringer, and we gotta lose a few heartbeats to get satisfaction from these wins, man. It's never easy, but hey, that just means we earned it, man.
Yeah. So my biggest takeaway from the game, it pointed out all the good was good and was bad with both teams.
Right.
Like with the Cavs, it was obvious their defense is awful. They 29th in like defensive rating this season. Before the trade, it was around 109 points a game they were giving up. And after the trade, they stood at the same, like 109 points game after the trade. So it hasn't been that much of a difference. Still bad. Just hasn't looked as bad because, you got 9 teams tanking. But
right.
It's still bad.
Right.
But that's no different than it was last year going into the playoffs. The defense was horrible.
Right.
Then what's good about Cleveland, they can score. Like you put LeBron on the floor with four shooters, you can't guard him. And you saw that in the second half of the game. Like LeBron was pretty much dictating everything at that point in time. If he wasn't scoring, he was setting everybody else up. Jeff Green had one of those Jeff Green games when he can't miss. And he's good for at least for 1 or 2 of those every season, and maybe one in the playoffs. So that's how he stays in the league. Everybody gets sucked into Jeff Green, man. They know at the end of the day, they know what Jeff Green can do and what he can't do. But he always has one of those games when he goes from look like Jeff Green to look like James Worthy. It's like, you know what? We may be able to salvage something. Let's pick up Jeff Green. But he's actually a good fit with Cleveland because of the size and athleticism and his ability to switch, across like 3-4 positions on defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that what he's going to give you on the offensive end, like, it's a crapshoot. So, but again, like, I don't even think George Hill played tonight, so they still was missed down one other key player. Like, did George Hill play tonight? Like, if he did, I didn't notice he was on the court.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, I think he's still out because I know he didn't play last night. So yeah, so they still down one more guy. Yeah, because Chetty Osman, he started. The young boy from Turkey. Rodney Hood is like Rodney Hood should be a perfect fit for this team, but like most players, like young guys especially, they play with LeBron James. It takes a period of kind of figuring things out, and that's probably what makes sense of why LeBron wants to play with mostly veterans on the team, because like he's going to dominate the ball. So if you're someone who, or your strength is getting your own offense, off the dribble, creating your own offense, being a playmaker, kind of being able to play off the ball, have them play off the ball, that's like a huge adjustment. Once again, I think that's what he's having to do on offense. With defense, I think once the playoffs start and everything starts to slow down, I think he'll be more of a plus on defense for the Cavs. He's long, he's rangy, and again, he can switch multiple positions on defense. But the offense, I was hoping, to see a lot more from him when he came over. But like I said, it's probably still the same thing with being a younger cat playing with LeBron, kind of have that adjustment. Now, with the Sixers, same thing. You see them at their best, like at their best, they like one of the top 2 or 3, 4 teams in the league. Offenses are clicking, hitting threes, they get turnovers, that pace is running down on teams, especially on a team like Cleveland was tonight, coming off a back-to-back and exerting a lot of energy against Washington last night. And you can tell early on, the Sixers took advantage of that. But then in the second half, that Achilles heel kind of railed their head again, turned the ball over. They were taking some bad shots, the 3 not falling, allowing for the other team to get back into it. And my number one, my biggest takeaway from the game, what I noticed, stuck out huge, especially in the fourth quarter. And we talked about it before, Ben Simmons' reluctance to shoot the ball in the stretch.
Yeah.
Like he started playing hot potato with the ball late in the game. Like when it's clearly nobody could stay in front of him. And if they did, he was too big, too physical, he still could get to the rim and get a shot off. But he's hesitant to get fouled, get to the line, not trusting himself. That's more than anything else, more than Embiid, playing or not playing, being healthy, more than, Markelle Fultz trying to find his shot, more than anything else, that's what teams are going to exploit more than anything else come to playoff time. Whether they get the 3 seed or not, whether they playing Miami, especially if they play like a team like Miami, a team that's well coached, a team that plays hard, a team is solid and strong defensively, they're going to take advantage of his weaknesses and expose his weaknesses, especially late in games.
Yeah.
So it's a time to be excited, but I say cautious. Even to get, I mean, it pretty much gonna get the home court advantage in the first round. It's pretty much locked up. Worst case scenario, they'll probably be 4.
Right.
Because Indiana lost tonight, so they're like 2.5, 3 games up on Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe more than that, actually. Maybe 3.5 games. I'm going to check it real quick. Let me see. So, yeah, they 2.5 games up on Indiana with 3 games left. Oh. It's pretty much a certain either 3 or 4. And that means they either play Miami, Indiana, or maybe Washington. But I think Washington's on purpose. I think they're trying to tank to the 7th spot to play Boston in the first round.
Yeah, I was
they lost again
this morning.
Yeah, they lost to Atlanta tonight. So it's like, I think they have it in mind that I think they're already confident, probably overly confident. Think they can beat like teams like Cleveland and Boston even before Kyrie got hurt. I think they feel that's probably their best opportunity to advance to the next round. Playing Boston in the first round and possibly getting, if the Sixers get the 3 seed, an inexperienced Sixers team in the second round. If you want to project ahead.
Sure.
But again, getting back to Ben Simmons, man, like he played phenomenal, man. Like it was pretty much a student versus teacher game with him and LeBron.
Yeah.
So my question to you is like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like, what do your biggest takeaway? Like, what's your biggest thoughts on how well Ben Simmons played in kind of comparison to him going directly up against LeBron, especially him defending LeBron a lot. Big moments in the game, and then how you think his hesitancy late in games is going to affect the team come playoff time.
Well, I mean, he definitely played with confidence and didn't play with any fear. He obviously is a playmaker. See, he's kind of like, I hate to overuse the phrase, but he really is like an X factor type of player. I mean, he could really run it at any time if he chooses to. But it's almost like sometimes sometimes he's comfortable enough just being a facilitator or ball distributor. But at times when Embiid is, even besides injury, let's say he's on the bench taking a breather or anything, he's really got to be the one to kind of set the table, kind of like the way Chris Paul does or other types of guards where the team kind of, the way he goes, so does the team as far as setting the tempo and the feel of the game. His hesitance to shoot has been an issue. It was a concern when he was drafted, and it was an issue, since the beginning of the year. But he's shown that he can score when he wants to. I mean, it's mainly taking it to the hole. He's usually driving and maybe a short jumper. And I don't really have a problem with that because I'm like, if people can't stop you driving, then do it all day if you can. Obviously, in the playoffs, though, you're playing against the best and defensive strategies are a little smarter. They're probably going to take that away from you. But since we've added, bringing back Ilyasova, Marco Bellinini and people like that, it's kind of helped stretch out the floor. So I think he could still have these scoring opportunities, but I just don't think it's probably just going to come with time. Like, I just think kind of like the way they used to get on LeBron, like for him, he's more likely to defer before taking the shots himself. But in his instance, there's times where you're the best option to take it as far as a high percentage shot, and depending on who else is on the floor, who knows? Maybe he hits the switch in the playoffs and kind of gets started with it. I mean, because you see how like with Fultz is in there now that Fultz has been back for the last 10 games or so, he has no problem firing if he has a chance. But when them two are on the floor together, I mean, we haven't really seen it too much, but like I guess it's something I'm going to have to look forward to more so next season, like when they're all playing together. And, Simmons has been shooting more jump shots. I see him doing it in workouts and warm-ups. So I guess he's kind of feeling some things out. I'm not really sure when it's going to click, though. I mean, yeah, I think you're right about how teams might try to exploit it. But with his size, most of those guards can't necessarily stick him on the one-on-one. Like, he still has this ability to get by guys and finish at the basket. I would say to that, though, he's going to have to start making sure he picks up some fouls, try to get them guards in foul trouble if you're going to take it to the hole, or have somebody ready to receive it, if you're going to drive and then maybe dish it at the last minute or something. But, he got to go with what's got him here. So if he tries to be somebody that he's not or try to force it too much, it's going to mess up the rhythm of the team. And you have outside shooters and other guys where you could distribute and create a shot for them if you're not going to create a shot for themselves. So I think it'll kind of take care of itself eventually. I mean, realistically, before this last run, I had them winning at least the first round series. I do like the matchup with the Pacers a little better with the Heat because sometimes it just seems like the Heat give us trouble. But the last couple times that we played them was before this little hot streak. So I got to figure out, is this who we're going to be or is this just something for now? But they've been pretty consistent over this stretch. So if they do play the Heat, obviously you got to have Embiid back because, for Whiteside or whoever else, the bigs. And then obviously Wade's good for, they use him seldomly, but he's good for those type of games every here and there, like he did to us in that regular season game a couple weeks ago. So, so getting back to it, I would rather play the Pacers first. But hey, if you got to go against Miami first round, say at like the 3-6, although right now it's looking like Milwaukee will probably have more of an inside track of jumping up to that to that 6 if we stay in the 3. We just gotta be ready, and obviously Embiid's healing from the surgery and whatnot. If you play against Miami, you're gonna have to use him. I don't know how you could probably try with Amir Johnson on defense, but then you don't have the offense. So if you play the Heat, he got to play first round. If you play the Pacers, you could probably do a wait and see and try to win as much without him, kind of like the way the Warriors did with Curry against Portland.
Yeah, I don't think they got to that point where they can kind of win around C. To be perfectly honest with you. I think when he's ready to go, they got a plan. Both of those teams are well-coached teams and capable of beating them in the first round. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know what the hell happened in the Heat tonight. Losing by damn near 30 points to the Knicks. But I mean, you kind of saw early in the season, like before the Sixers went on that current hot streak, they struggled against both of those teams. They lost. I think Indiana owns a tiebreaker against the Sixers this year, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of like head-to-head matchup. That's only. I think it's like when the playoffs come around, like people say it all the time, but the playoffs it really slows down.
Yeah,
and that's when the margins, the little things come into play. Like our exposure is a great coach, like a phenomenal coach. Like if you want to rank coaches, he's probably the third, fourth best coach in the league. And the thing with Miami, they can play almost any style. They can go small, they can play big. They can ground it out. They can play a little bit up tempo. They got guys like Josh Richardson who can defend in multiple positions. Same thing with Justice Winslow. Winslow's been shooting the ball a lot better this year. Probably still can't trust him in a playoff setting. Kelly Olynyk has been playing well with Miami. James Johnson. Dragonfly Jones. James Johnson. Him with the black belts or whatever. I mean, he's like, then like you mentioned, you got Dwayne Wade. Like Miami got a lot of different cats to throw at you. They can play a lot of different ways. Indiana, like only way I would get the Sixers advantage against Indiana is because even though with some of the veterans that Indiana has, like that group together hasn't played together in the playoffs. And it's like this will be Victor Oladipo's first time in the playoffs as a guy. He played last year with Oklahoma City in the first round. But I mean, that was pretty much Russ and everybody else. Teams is going whoever plays Indiana, they're gonna key on Victor Oladipo, make him get the ball up, force him to force him out of the paint. They may I know a lot of teams have been kind of conceding kind of like the mid-range shot to Indiana this year, and they've been hitting them at a pretty good rate. That space is going to tighten up come playoff time. Players will start playing up on them more and more. So I don't know. Like I think that they had that chance against Indiana. Miami would scare me, but if they keep playing the way they play and they get Embiid back, I think everything's on the table for them at this point. Outside of winning the championship and getting to the finals, I think everything else is on the table for them this year. Win a round, possibly making competitive in the second round. It's exciting. It's exciting. Being unbiased and kind of being outside looking in, watching everything unfold. It's exciting, man, to see, man, to go from 10 wins 2 years ago to possibly 50 wins this year.
Yeah,
like
that's a big,
how does that feel to you?
It's a big come up. I'll say, I think they deserve it. I mean, Brett Brown has taken a lot of heat for them tanking years, even though, you could put Pop, you could put Phil Jackson. I mean, you could put any of your big name coaches in the situation he was in during them tanking years. And, you're not going to really win more than 10, 15, 20 games regardless. So I think it's cool that he's been able to at least stay around to see the fruits of that labor with some actual talent. And he's able to run stuff with talent. But I just think the further they go with this is more validation to the so-called process. Because, people are talking heads and league, experts and all were such, poo-pooing the process. And this is disgraceful, 10 wins. And obviously there was a method to the madness, but it's been cool to see that they overachieved so far this year. People were saying maybe they get 40 wins, maybe. But in a lot of these games they played, even in the losses, like a couple of them losses earlier this season to Cleveland and to Houston, they were right in it to the last shot. So there's really, they got smacked a couple of times by the Raptors. A couple eggs they laid, but for the most part, nobody's really been like just thrashing them this year. They've been showing that they can keep up with people. But I just think since they were such a young team, they had to learn how to win, and that's why a lot of the times they would blow those third, fourth quarter leads. You gotta learn how to get used to winning. And it seems like now they're starting to get confident in each other and hitting their stride. So I'm like, just keep that confidence up. I mean, it feels good to see it though, like thinking, they actually have a legitimate shot to progress. Obviously you got to play your first round, but, they got a decent chance as opposed to in the past, you might say, well, it's cool. At least they're in the playoffs. I don't know how it's going to go, but at least they made it. Now, right now, people actually believe like this team could possibly win a series or two. You just never know.
Yeah.
It's all about matchups. And, you never know what's going to happen on the other side of the bracket. Not to look beyond your bracket now, but you never know how this thing going to play out. So it's like sometimes if something line up, it lines up. So you just got to take advantage of it, So you just got to see, just got to see.
Absolutely.
You can put together a good 4 games in that stretch, doesn't really matter what, anything else, how it looks on paper. So, if Embiid, if obviously Embiid and Simmons, and like I said, it always comes down to getting some production out of either Redick or Dario or somebody. Get one of them guys to chip in and get that 3-way thing going. They're just as good as anybody for right now. Obviously Toronto's like top of the top, but they have a track record in the past of not being too good in the postseason. Now this roster is made up a little differently in the past, but you got to think that pressure might creep into their heads. Like, say they play tight or blow that first game, now the doubt could creep in of here we go again. So I think as long as we just play our own game and don't worry about what everybody else is doing, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, it was big speaking of Toronto. It was big for them coming off, getting their ass handed to them against Cleveland again, coming back, beating Boston. in Indiana, to clinch the first spot in the conference, man, because it wasn't looking good, man. It wasn't looking good at all. It was like, oh man, they're only 2 games up in Boston. They can't beat Cleveland. What's going on? But it kind of bounced back, beating Boston. I know Boston has been crazy shorthanded, but they had to win that game and then turn right around, mollywop in Indiana tonight. It kind of shakes some of those things off, so you can kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit. And that next 2 games against Orlando and Detroit should be winnable games, and they should have a pretty strong shot in the last game of the season, possibly getting to 60 wins. Now, another question I wanted to ask you with the Cleveland-Philadelphia game.
Mm-hmm.
When LeBron dunked on Ilyasova and took that boy's soul, man. Jesus Christ, man.
Hey, man. I mean, it's not like Ilyasova is some type of defensive specialist. And, Bron's been doing this all season. So it's like, you just got to, if it's going to happen to you, at least let it happen to you from the best and not just like some JoJo player. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
no, it don't matter. It don't matter. I don't care who it is, man.
Hey, man.
Boy, that was so disrespectful, man. I'm watching the play on first, see LeBron coming down the lane. I'm like, I think he's going to just lay this up and get fouled, like get an N1 or something.
Yeah.
It took off. I'm like, oh no. It was like in slow motion, man.
Yeah,
oh no.
You knew he was about to turn the hand and change up. So
I was like, oh my God, man. He didn't stop, then he stared at him, dog.
I'm glad the way this game played out. It was almost like the way it happened. I actually like it because it's like, Cleveland, they kind of struggled and barely got out of that Washington game. So coming into here, it was like, you knew they were going to be playing scrappy, a little desperate, which is why it was a little surprising that they came out so flat. But you know how it is with these back-to-backs. But the way it was coming down, high stakes, you tie it up, winner takes, the upper seed. You knew he was bringing it. You knew he was going to bring it. Yeah. So it's just to be expected. And I'm still amazed to see how he's playing at such a high level and, playing on track to play all 82 games. Like he's been, obviously I still think Harden should win the MVP, but the way this dude been playing this year, he's definitely made himself relevant in the conversation. So for Ilyasova, I'll say, just take it as an honor that you got to earn your stripes against this dude. Just move it on,
man. God bless him, man. God bless him and his Wikipedia page. I know somebody up here, man.
Probably. I'm about to check. About to check it too. They don't play around with that.
No, man. People be on that thing, man. And this is like probably the best case, like for appreciating like LeBron or somebody like him, man, is these games. It was down by 17 against Washington last night. It was down by 30 tonight. But watching how he plays when a team is desperate, like you see everything, you get to see all of it, like all facets of the game. Like even back when he was in Miami, when he was back in Miami, and Miami would turn that switch. Like for example, that game 6 against San Antonio, the game where Ray Allen hit the shot.
Yeah.
Where they were down in the fourth quarter, and basically on the floor was just LeBron and a bunch of like LeBron and a bunch of others, like bench guys or whatever. Like I think D Wade and Chris Bosh was on the bench. They made that run, and LeBron headband came off. There was like no headband, LeBron on the floor,
right.
And it was like just scrambling all over the court. It was like trapping, and like LeBron was everywhere, and like get turnovers, get to the basket. Like seeing him like take it up to that level that nobody else can reach. That's when you can really kind of appreciate it. It was like kind of the same thing with Mike, or like Magic, or even like Shaq. Even though Shaq, maybe to a lesser extent, because he really didn't have too many cats physically who could kind of push him to that level. But you would see it like come NBA Finals when they made that run, like the way he just dominated like Dikembe, or he dominated Ty McCullough, or whoever went up against in the finals, or Rick Smits, when it was like 40. He's putting like 40s and 20s and 40 points, 20 rebounds every night. Or like getting back to Mike, back in the series against when they played Phoenix, when it was like him and Barkley were going toe to toe, and it was like Mike was just putting like ridiculous numbers. Or when Magic that year in '91 when they made the finals, when nobody thought they was gonna make the finals that year, like his last like real year.
Right.
Like you saw Magic like in the playoffs, especially against Portland in the Western Conference Finals. You see him like just playing at a level, a sense of urgency that nobody else could how to play with. And as you see this and bring it forward, you see the same thing with with LeBron. Like when it's like desperate times, you can see him just take it to that level that no other players on the floor can kind of reach.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious to see like whatever cat like younger cat like future star whatever kind of have you'll be able to see that in. Like, I wonder who else will like kind of take that mantle. It's like okay, the game is tight. There's desperate times. Like who's going to be able to like step it up the next level that nobody else can reach and kind of show and display that full skills. Like when I'm kind of mentally kind of go through and think about it, it's like nobody really to jump out at me like in terms of like the younger cat.
That's what makes them so special. And like you mentioned it with like Magic Johnson, like these type of people come like once a generation. It's not every couple drafts or that's what makes them so special. Like there's really nobody else that comes to mind. I mean, there's certain players that I think could dominate, like Anthony Davis, but I don't think he has that type of switch where it's like, all right, it's time to put this thing to time to put everything on my back and just go. He's been killing it at times, so he has flashes of that. But
that's probably good. He's probably the best one. Like I've seen with him, like even going back to the last time he was in the playoffs and they played Golden State and got swept. That game one, when it was like, oh, you like this new like Golden State was gonna blow him out,
right?
But then it's like wow, like New Orleans is making a game out of this, and then you watching Anthony Davis like wow, like they had nobody on the court that could play him.
Right.
Like he was like better than everybody else on the floor. This is peak stuff.
Yeah.
That first.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, it kind of with him, it's unfortunate because between his injuries and his teammates' injuries and them just not building the team right, I remember that series, and that was almost like his coming out party because it was almost like, man, you better watch out for this team. In the next couple of years, they're going to be a problem, but it didn't quite go that way. Same thing with the way the Minnesota Timberwolves was starting to look. It was looking like, all right, like any day now, this is going to be the year where they can finally put it together.
Yeah.
These type of teams have fallen short, whether or not it's because of injury, but I say partially injury, partial execution. They haven't been able to quite do it. But Davis, I swear, like he's gonna have to go to another team to get his legacy thing going. It ain't gonna happen with the Pelicans, man. And I'm not trying to just put that franchise down, but I just don't see it. Like he's gonna have to be in another. He's gonna be in another market with another jersey and another. It's gonna have to be somewhere else for him to get like pushed up to that next level.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like right now, like if he was on, I'm just making this up. If he was on like a Bulls or Lakers, or if he was on like a legacy team or a different market, he'd probably be in top 3 of MVP the last couple of years already. But because he's with the Pels, it's like, it's just not. Well,
one should be top 3 this year.
Right.
He should be top 3 this year, though.
He should be top 3 this year.
Yeah.
He definitely should be.
But I understand your point, though. Like, it's not an appreciation there for him yet because he plays in New Orleans. I
just don't think so. Like, it'd be a darn shame for that city, too. Like, if he does leave at some point, and then it's like they're going to be sitting watching like that was supposed to be us. But I don't know what team it would be that he would go to.
Yeah.
I just think that a change of scenery, like that's hypothetical. Let's say you put him with McCollum and with Dame. You know what I'm saying? Suppose you put him there. Now that team,
they're a championship team.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like they lost LaMarcus Aldridge, obviously, and that hurt them. But if you replace them, if they were able to get him without giving up one of them type guys, like if they were actually able to sign him straight up, that they changed the whole landscape of the Western Conference. So that's what I'm saying. Like him in another zip code changes a lot of things.
But that's why I was sad when Boogie got hurt, man. Because them two together,
Oh, it was
like,
dangerous, man.
they're so physical, like physically, just like they're low to handle.
Yeah.
But then skill wise, like these dudes damn near 7 feet tall, can play on the perimeter, can play make, they can shoot. Like you running a 4-5 pick and roll right behind the 3-point line, 28 feet from the basket. You can't guard that.
Right.
You can't switch. Like your big man can't stand in front of them. And if they can run a pick and pop, pick and roll, and both of them can pass the ball, it's like it's unguardable. It's virtually unguardable.
Yeah.
But you ain't gonna be able to see that. I'm curious to see like this year. Like I don't think they're better to get up to the 6. I mean, they have an outside shot getting to the 6th spot. Like I was curious to see them play like Portland in the first round. Just to see, like I could see that series going 6 or 7. I don't think they could beat them, but I'd be curious to see that series, see that play. Right now, the Suns they probably end up playing like Golden State in the first round.
Yeah,
that's probably the best case scenario for Golden State playing them.
Yeah,
you're talking probably like a 5-6 game series, more likely probably 5 game.
Yeah.
But
T-Wolves right there, though. T-Wolves.
Minnesota better stop playing around, man.
They might fall out.
Yeah, they're up by 2 right now against the Lakers. And the Lakers got nothing to play for. They don't know pick the tank for.
Well, Lakers just
won that stuff
today, though.
Yeah. Lakers don't care, man. Like Kuzma's like, if he didn't have that stretch where he like kind of was struggling, he'd be right there to think of things for Rookie of the Year. Yeah, Minnesota can't play around. Like, if they lose this game, they played Denver the last game of the season. That's gonna be the game for the last spot, probably. They got Jimmy Butler better, so that's a plus.
Yeah,
but they can't play around, especially with D Rose taking pull up, 18, 20 footers or whatever off the dribble. But they better stop playing around. They're not gonna make the playoffs, man. Then they'll make the playoffs. Like, what's gonna happen? They're gonna fire Tibbs. They're gonna get rid of Tibbs. Are they gonna take the GM duties from him? Like, it's gonna be a mess, man.
Yeah.
They put everything into making the playoffs, making a run, like being a 3-4 seed this year.
Yep, trading for Butler and
picking up, Jeff Teague
and Crawford,
Taj Gibson, Crawford, and who else? Yeah, like I like Lakers though, man. Like I understand what they want to do. They want to go for the flashy move, getting the Paul George or LeBron.
Yeah.
But I like their young guys, man. I like their young guys a lot. Like Lonzo, Kuzma, Julius Randle, who can be a restricted free agent.
Yeah, he finally. Randle finally getting his
contract year, man. Contract Julius.
All right.
Then, Josh Hart.
Yeah, Hart's a good. That was definitely a good pickup for them. Definitely a good pickup.
Even like Tyler Ennis and the other kid they got Zubika or whatever his name is. Yeah, but I mean, I understand what they're going to end up trying to do come the summer, but I don't think they should try to force it, man. Oh, in fact, I forgot Brandon Ingram because he's been up last couple of games.
I am. Right.
And he's probably going to end up being the best player out of all that.
Yeah, as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, as long as he stay healthy. They got a good, nice group of good young guys, man.
Yeah, they're just gonna need a little time. Like, with them being in that market, people get impatient, but it's not gonna be next season. It's gonna take a little time. It's gonna take a little time.
Yeah, and you think about it, outside like one stretch that they had this year, they've been extremely competitive all season, and a couple of things would have broke right for them, man. They could have been still competing and fighting for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
All things considered, it's crazy. Yeah, but I can't wait for the playoffs, man. The playoffs are going to be interesting, man. And once everything gets set next week, we probably sit down and probably break everything down, run through everything. But it's going to be fun. The playoffs should be fun, especially the first round.
I think so. I think so. Like you were saying last week, it's not going to be any of these like sweeps or five. I don't really think there'll be any sweeps, and probably not really any five gamers for the most part. It should be pretty good. So
Yeah, Houston maybe. Houston is probably the one team like they end up. I think like regardless of who they play, like it was Minnesota, Denver,
mhm.
or New Orleans. I think that's a 4 or 5 game series.
Probably right.
Yeah, but outside of that, everything is up for grabs. Outside of that, it may not be a whole bunch of upsets, but I think everything's gonna be pretty much competitive.
Yeah.
And I'm still holding on to my thing. I think San Antonio's gonna lose in the first rounds, even if they play Utah or somebody or Portland.
Yeah, that sounds very possible. I mean, it's just not that time. I just don't
Yeah,
think.
you can feel it. Like, this is why certain teams like not saying they're not gonna get handed to them or anything like that, but just for them, for San Antonio's, everything broke wrong for them this year.
Yeah,
I know, being in the 5th spot with a chance of being in the 4th spot, you say how you say everything broke wrong, but that standard that San Antonio set, like, a lot of things it's been a lot of worst case scenarios for them this year, so to speak.
yeah. It's just a little
And
odd with them. Like the one, the sound bites, the team only meeting. Parker talking about, my injury was worse than that. I would have been better. Like it's just like
yeah,
uncharacteristic of how they usually are.
yeah, man. But another team that stopped playing around, that's Oklahoma City, man.
Hmm.
They only a game up on Denver, so they only a game up from 9. They play Houston tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean it's wild that pretty much the 4 through 8, one one false start and you could be on the outside. You could be going fishing next week. So
And that will be we talking about devastating, man. They lose, they don't make the playoffs. Ugh, I don't, Russ ain't going nowhere because he signed an extension, but
nah, but
in terms
Paul
of
George.
PG, yeah. And Melo probably opt into his contract because I don't think he's gonna get the money that he got right now at the end of his deal. He got that player option, so I don't think he'll give up that money unless he want to say, you know what, F it. I just want and I made my money. I'll go somewhere else to try to win a ring or whatever that case may be. But Melo hasn't been the type of dude whenever he had the opportunity to kind of take less money in any situation. He's been about the bread, been about his bread, and you can't knock. But they got Houston tomorrow night in Houston.
Hmm.
Then they got Miami in Miami on Monday night. So they very possibly lose both of those games and have it. The only saving grace is they got Memphis the last game of the season. But they could see themselves come Wednesday night, man, on the outside looking in, really need to win that game to have a chance to make the playoff. Because them losing to Golden State, man, that was a huge loss.
Yeah,
Huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, that was a dud, man. And that game last week we talked about, I think that was against the Spurs when Russ airballed that 3 at the end.
Yeah.
that was a low point.
Yeah, man. So them and Minnesota, those are 2 teams, man. They got tighten up a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or else they could be scratching their head trying to figure out where everything went wrong at the end of the season. So I guess we kind of all over the place. I think the next thing we're going to touch on, and we kind of mentioned a little bit, the Kyrie Irving injury for Boston, him being off for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And how that's going to affect everything. And we kind of touched on a little bit saying, like I, made the point it looked like Washington's probably trying to tank to the 7th spot so they can play Boston in that first round. Like, and the obvious thing is probably to talk about Boston and how it affects them in the playoffs. But think about moving forward next year.
Sure.
Like how you think that may affect them, like moving forward. I mean, they're gonna get Gordon Hayward back, but you've seen the injury that he had.
Yeah. That's big, man. I mean, it's like it's almost like two ships passing in the wind because it's like the whole point of signing him was to be with Kyrie, and then he goes out begin the season. So then Kyrie was holding it down for a while, but it's like I think obviously because they didn't have Hayward, there wasn't a real. I don't think there was a real expectation that they would go to the finals, let alone win it. You know,
Yeah,
it was talk that they'd be up there. You know, Boston, Toronto, Cleveland. That was the talk going into the season. So that didn't change much as far as your top three seeds, but I don't think there was a finals expectation once he went down. And now with Kyrie out, there's not really much of a deep playoff push. So going into next season, you get Hayward back, he'll hold it down, and then Kyrie might not necessarily be ready at the beginning of the season. And from a long-term
yeah,
standpoint, you know, because he's had multiple knee issues and ankle, you know, lower leg injuries, you wonder how he's going to be in the long term. And you know how some guys once they get one thing, they just start breaking down and all types of injuries. You know, you wonder is that him? Like, is he fragile now, where he's just going to have different injuries off and on? Their window was, you know, the landscape of the East was so dependent on LeBron. You know, when he went to Cleveland, they had on lock. Everybody figured he's leaving there this year. Danny Ainge figured this is our time to cash in. He's on his way out. It's our time. But then you got teams like Toronto that have popped up. You know, and Philly was a couple years behind, so to speak, with the plan, but gunning for Boston. So right now would be their time. So they pretty much lost a year of their window this year. So they pretty much got next year, but then Philadelphia is going to be better. Toronto's still going to be up there. So it's like you gotta hit it when that window is there because it's not guaranteed that, as we're seeing now with injuries and things, nothing's guaranteed. So next year, I think it puts the pressure on them. Like they gotta produce next year based on the way they got that team constructed, but they're gonna have competition. And if Kyrie's not 100%, I don't think Hayward carries that team. I mean, obviously you still got Harford and other guys, you know, Tatum and Jalen Brown, you know, whoever, but I think if they were going to do it, this would have been the best year to go for it. But it just so happened that Toronto was better than them anyway, you know, kind of peaked. And then obviously not having all your guys affected them. So, you know, they're vulnerable. Like you said, they're vulnerable for even getting out the first round. And then going into next season, you know, with these type of injuries, like if Kyrie rushes back too soon, then they could backfire, kind of like the way we saw with Kawhi. So it's like they got to be real delicate with balancing their winning and wanting to be at full strength.
yeah. Like I disagree with you to the point of having that sense of urgency. Come next season. In terms of that window, like obviously, like this year, they was looking kind of take a big step. Because they made the conference finals last year. Got Hayward, traded for Kyrie. I mean, so I definitely agree with you at that point. But I think the reason why it's not that sense of urgency there is because, like you mentioned, Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like those two dudes, young dudes, they could develop into all-star caliber players. Like when you watch them play, like for example, look at Jalen Brown. Last year how he developed from the start of the season. He was questioning his jump shot. Teams were playing off of him. Those types of things. And the athleticism was always there. He always played hard on defense, especially fitting the Brad Stevens system. Did you watch him come to playoff time, especially that Washington series? Even when they lost to the Cavs in 5 games, he was honestly, especially after Isaiah got hurt, probably like the best player on the floor. Including Al Horford. Like he played hard. He struggled at moments because he's a young guy, but like he showed flashes just last year in the playoffs. Like how he evolved from the beginning of the season today, like hitting corner threes when he was left open, still driving to the basket, but playmaking a little bit. And then this season, how he elevated his game even more so with the playmaking, improving his shooting, the defense still being there. Like just really taking that second year jump that a lot of rookies take. Like when you see the drastic difference, and then like when Kyrie went down, he showed flashes, and then with Jason Tatum, beginning of the season because of Hayward, he was expected to come out the bench to kind of ease him along, get minutes here and there, spot duty, but he was forced into duty right away. He hit the rookie wall like most rookies do. But when Kyrie went down, he's another cat. When Kyrie went down, he stepped up his game. Shoulder the load on offense, having to create, score,
right,
do everything, and still play a high level on the defensive end. He showed a lot during this stretch.
You know.
Now, I think it's going to be a bonus, even though, regardless of what happened to him in the first round of the playoffs or what happened to him in the playoffs, them two having a shoulder load in the playoffs without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, they're going to grow that much more, which gives you more flexibility moving forward. It's like, okay, we got these two young guys who are ready for something. We got the veteran, we got Al Horford, we got Hayward coming back. We don't have to rush Kyrie back now because of them two. So it's like we can rely on them a little bit more next year, even moving forward. So that kind of extends our window because next year they'll be on in their second and third year respectively. So that might actually extend that window because when, Al Horford, Kyrie, and Gordon Hayward on the opposite end of their prime, that these two dudes, if they decide to keep them, because also with their development, it gives you the opportunity, the flexibility that if a Kawhi Leonard comes available, if an Anthony Davis becomes available, with the other picks that they have, they can swing an even bigger move and get another bigger, big time player, an all-star caliber player, super type player. And then with that, I ain't even mention the way Terry Rozier's been playing.
Yeah, he's been playing.
Like him getting another thing with him getting those extra minutes with Kyrie being hurt, he stepped up his game. So he's another guy who's going to benefit in the playoffs regardless of the result, the outcome, having more responsibility in the postseason. Now, whether they're not going to be able to keep him, I think after this year, he has maybe like one more year left on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
That's another thing because he's going to get paid. Because he looks like he's a starter, caliber guard in the league. But again, it's like they can be proactive with him. They want to swing for the fences, get another player. He's another asset they can throw into things. So those three young guys, I think, doesn't put a sense of urgency on them trying to compete for a championship. If anything, they can be smart about it. Like you said, when Kyrie's 4 to 5 months of recovery, they can rely more to 5 months into that recovery, as opposed, like you said, rushing them back. Anything with Gordon Hayward, they don't have to rush him back at all. They can let him get completely 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Training camp, those types of things. So, but again, to your point, the Sixers being a little bit better than anticipated this year, that might push them along a little bit more than they probably anticipated. So, I'm curious to see, but I think the other thing I was thinking of with Kyrie's injury reminds me of Chris Paul before he got hurt. Before Chris Paul got hurt, like he had that explosion, had the athleticism. Even though he's still a smaller guy, but he had that bounce. Like you saw, like that year in 2008 when Kobe got the MVP. In my opinion, he kind of could have been the MVP that year. I think it was like the last game or last couple games of the season. They ended up playing the Lakers head to head. I think when the Lakers ended up winning that game and getting the 1 seed in the West, that's probably what swung the vote with Kobe getting the MVP that year. But getting back to it, he had that knee. He had knee injuries, and he had to kind of change his game up, more ground bound, more methodical. As you see, that's when he developed that mid range game, that shot at the elbows at the top of the key. That's like damn near unguardable. Like you can't leave him open. And then he further expanded his range, behind the 3-point line. And if he's open and he spots up, he's pretty much automatic behind there. So you've seen the evolution of this game. It's like, Chris Paul got handles. I ain't trying to take nothing away from him, but he got the handles like Kyrie. So I'm wondering if Kyrie's going to take that, maybe evolve that way the same way Chris Paul did with some of his bounces going because of his knee injury.
Yeah.
But if he's able to make that transition, I think he may be okay. But like next year, moving forward, I mean, maybe they might not say they lose a step, but maybe like a half a step or a quarter step, and how that might impact them moving forward.
Yeah.
What other question? I think next thing I pointed out to you that I don't know if you got a chance to kind of take a look at what the owner of the Houston Texans, Bob McNair.
Yeah.
Kind of walking back his apology for saying, like, you can't let the inmates run that solemn. When, those owners and some of the players met during the season, talking about the, protesting was being done on the field. Not because of the national anthem, but during the national anthem. On the players, that's the one thing that kind of grinds my gears when they always you see the headlines and they kind of talk about it, the talking heads in the media. They always frame it as it being a protest of the anthem, but that was never the case.
Right.
Anyway, back to Bob McNair, pretty much saying that he regret apologizing. He don't think he don't feel as though he said anything wrong. And kind of go from there. I wonder if you read anything about that and what your thoughts on that.
Some of it when I was on Twitter yesterday, and first off, however he decides to defend the saying, it was more so dog whistle politics. So there's this saying that you can't unring a bell. So when he first said, the whole thing about inmates running the asylum, regardless of what he said after, it was out there already, and
exactly.
he said it the way he wanted to say it. None of these owners are naive. None of them are stupid. I mean, they might say stupid things, but none of them are naive. None of them are stupid. You get to that point owning a professional franchise, especially in the NFL, you think about every single thing that you say. You've got publicists, everything's calculated.
Absolutely.
Everything. So he knew exactly what type of ramifications would come from saying it, but he knew also that in this political climate that it would resonate with certain groups, because this whole, kind of like you just mentioned, this whole thing going back to Cap from the beginning was never about the flag. It was never about the troops. But people like to take narratives and hijack it, and people like to redirect discussions and reframe things. It was never about the flag. It was never about the troops. And if you think about it, it's pretty stupid that people would link the flag to the troops, because the flag is for the country. So the flag is for everybody. So how can the flag be exclusively for the troops? That was number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it's documented that that the armed forces and the NFL had a business deal to have military at these games and flying the flag. So it wasn't out of patriotic duty. It was a business venture. That's number two. Number three, I don't have the stats right in front of me. Obviously, the NBA is probably like 90% black, but the NFL definitely has probably over 50%, 50-60% black guys. Obviously, the different skill positions vary, where your quarterbacks are still usually white guys, but your skill positions like running back, wide receivers, corners, a lot of those type of positions are usually black guys. And so you figure on his roster, it's not like you don't have any black guys on his roster. So it's like, for him to say what he said was obviously how he felt, and that's obviously his mindset. He only cleaned it up because he thought it might impact his bottom line.
Yeah.
But after it died down, I guess he probably resented it and had a little bit of rebellion in his soul and decided, like, why did I, apologize? Because he tried to look at the landscape and kind of see how things are now. He probably figured it simmered down. But it's like, and he's not the only one. I mean, there's been a couple of other owners I've heard say during this offseason, during the owners' meetings, like, oh, my players will be standing next year. Like they're all already taking this tone and this stance. Like it's gonna be back to basics next year and none of this nonsense. And then when you look at it, that players coalition pretty much got a check cut to. They pretty much wrote them that check like, look, we'll give you money for this stuff, but I'm pretty sure the agreement was like, y'all got to cut this stuff out and we're going to pay you to make sure that you don't. So you probably won't really see any of that stuff next year.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like new money. It was just money they kind of shifted.
Right. They reallocated. Exactly. I think they took it from the breast cancer initiative or one of them things.
Yeah.
So right. It's not like they actually added extra money, but that's a whole nother topic in itself for probably a different day. But with this guy, McNair, Southern, Texas guy, he knew what he was doing in the first place. But by him walking this thing, by him saying he regretted the apology, I think he's just trying to reaffirm himself with the president and with other politics. So it is what it is. I mean, I think at this point, most of these athletes you just got to take it for what it is. The league is a business. Do what you got to do. To me, it's better off that you know what these people stand for, so you know what is going on. The Donald Sterling thing was one thing. There's more Donald Sterlings than the one that he was just the one that got caught. He was just the one that got publicized. But there's more of the Donald Sterlings and the Bob McNairs than not. A lot of the times they just don't say anything. So I'll give him credit for being bold enough to say it, because a lot of them think it, but they won't say it out loud. But their actions say it just the same. I mean, you look at Jerry Jones. He decided to hijack their movement, and I'm going to make them all kneel. I mean, that was the dumbest thing. We're going to kneel before the anthem, and we're going to do it all together. And then he going to kneel with them so he could be all in it. And it was like, so what was the purpose of kneeling? Like, y'all missed the point of it. They actually didn't miss the point. They wanted to hijack the conversation and redirect it. It wasn't about we're all together. It wasn't about the players. They weren't protesting each other. It was to draw attention to something. So when they all did that, we all kneel together, we're all one team, that pretty much diluted the whole cause. And not to get too deep, but it kind of reminded me of the 60s with the civil rights marches. The March on Washington was not supposed to be what it ended up being. It initially was supposed to be a march for jobs and wages and stuff. And it wasn't originally with King. It was A. Philip Randolph and the people that fund these things behind the scene decide to get King involved. And next thing you know, everybody's singing "We Shall Overcome," and it's a kumbaya moment, and everybody gets to pat themselves on the back. But with this protest movement, people all hijacked it to give them a chance to feel good about themselves when it wasn't really about that in the first place. And it's kind of funny, almost reminds me of a guilty conscience, because the protest wasn't protesting the NFL either. They weren't calling out the NFL to do something about the police injustice, because that's not their lane. So it's like the fact that they got upset about it says a lot, because it wasn't even directed at y'all. But you worried that it's going to upset certain fans, which it obviously would, but that says a lot about the demographics you have in your viewership. But look at what happened with the Papa John's thing. He decided to go on the offensive and call out the league and say, I got to get this protest thing out of control. People decided, you know what, your pizza ain't that good anyway, and we got new sponsors. So it's like a lot of these people playing themselves when they insert themselves more into it than they needed to. If most of these owners just didn't say nothing and said, look, we respect players' rights to express themselves, and then maybe you had that talk behind the scenes, it's a different story. But if you're going to be that vocal about it, to me, the longer that they keep talking about it, it makes it worse than what it is, because it probably would have kind of healed on its own. But the more they keep trying to provoke it, they're causing more issues for themselves. That's the way I see
it. It's like, and with the NFL, man, a lot of things they do, like everything it comes from a bottom line place. It never comes from a place of sincerity.
Right.
Like, none of that stuff really feels genuine to me. Like when you see the whole breast cancer awareness thing, or when they celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month,
right?
All the different things, different initiatives, where they supporting the troops, or like it's all garbage to me. Like like I understand why they doing it, but it's not sincere. It doesn't feel legit. Like all the leagues do it, but out of them, it seems a lesson coming place from that's not sincere.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of thinking back when we was younger and we would watch sports, watch the league. Like everything is completely different. It doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same anymore. And that's why me, like above anything else, I didn't watch it. Or see, I know people always ask me like, why you don't watch it? They first thing they always automatically thought is like, oh, like you protesting because the guy be like, no, like this shit's just not entertaining anymore. Like I don't find any entertainment out of it. Like I did watch the Super Bowl because I would have felt like an idiot being the only person living in the city not watching it. And it seemed like that was like probably the most entertaining game of the season, for obvious reasons. But outside of that, man, it's like you lose the connection. And then these little, different things that trigger off from the owners, from different ownership groups, those types of things. It's like this, it creates more and more distance. And then you see like the blatant, hypocrisy of a lot of things, the way they treat certain players, how to handle certain players. It's like, okay, like I understand it's a business, but this is like ridiculous. Like I was a big fan of, Robert Griffin III, when he's come out of college and everything. But now bring him up to say because he just got picked up by the Ravens.
Right.
Like he deserved to, get another opportunity to lead, blah, blah, blah. But if we really look back at when he was last on the field and when old boy Kaepernick was on the field, if you take everything, all the noise away, Kaepernick deserved to get another shot before Robert Griffin III. Of
course.
I just like looking at like the numbers. They take all the noise away, you get the numbers. It's like, and this show is just blatantly they trying to do whatever they can to avoid that situation. I think some of the teams starting to learn their lesson and not trying to fake like, oh, like we thought about it, we gave it consideration, but it just didn't fit like, the offense that we run our system, this type of the third. You're not gonna have none of those conversations no more. I think they basically was gonna act like it's nothing to see here, like he doesn't exist anymore. And that's why I like that aspect of like it doesn't get me up in arms no more because like then he's not gonna get signed. Like it's not even a big to do anymore. Like they're not bringing him back.
No.
And then when you hear things like what Bob McNair says, like that just engraves it even more in stone. Like he's not playing football ever again. Like his career is over.
Yeah.
And well, it's like I don't know, man. Like none of this in a large degree, none of this stuff surprised me when I hear some of these things come out of people's mouths, like whether it's in sports, whether it's in life, walking around different people, whether it's in politics, like I'm not surprised anymore.
Me either.
I remember at one point I was one of those people who foolishly thought, it was like years ago, that, oh, like it's not a race, it's not a race thing anymore. It's financial, it's monetary, it's like it's income. It's about the haves and the have-nots, that type of aspect. It's not the only color that matters right now is green. It's like who got money, who don't got money. That financial disparity of things, stuff like that, having access, those types of things. But even that is rooted in racism and systemic oppression. So I was naive, like a lot of cats at one point, because you get comfortable. But when you see now when everybody's taking the hoods off, I mean, no pun intended, you get to see everybody for what they really are. And so it's like, okay, it's been this way, and it's going to be this way for quite some time. And we got to be more smarter, more proactive, how you want to look at it, how to maneuver our way through the system that's been etched, so it's been in place for hundreds of years. I mean, it's not built for us. Like even with the talks about gun control, like the Constitution didn't have us in mind.
No.
So like I had no problem with people who are gun owners and feel as though they should have guns, because it's their right. But those rights that aren't written for us. So fighting over those types of issues, like that's not our battle.
No.
To be perfectly honest with you, and we may need guns for for other things further down the line if something was to happen, or whatever the case may be. Whether it's a zombie apocalypse or whatever. But none of those things was written for us, man. It's like it's time, for us, just acknowledging that and start maneuvering through those types of things, man. But
Well, yeah, I think you
I
pretty.
digress.
No, I think you pretty much just summed up a key. To me, that's a key life principle. For a lot of people, they get stuck on what is. But for me, I'm like, take something for what it is, and then my next thing is, what are you going to do about it? Because accepting something for what it is don't mean that you like it. It doesn't even mean you agree with it. But if you take it for what it is, you know the landscape and the layout, and you can say, okay, this is what's in front of me. Now, what am I going to do about it to get what I want? Whether it's sports or not, whether it's political stuff. To me, that's the best approach. A lot of people get stuck in, that's not right. That's not fair. And it's like, you're right. It's not fair. So what you going to do about it now? Pointing out what's wrong doesn't get you anywhere. Pointing out the system is messed up, is stacked against us. You're absolutely right. I don't really think too many people, logical people, are going to debate that. Some people will do it just to keep you distracted and wear you down. But it's like, you're right. It's not fair. So now what? So even going back to the cap thing. Oh, they blacklisting them. You're absolutely right, they are. So now what? But honestly, with him, going back to it with this McNair thing, I always try to point this out to people. Just keep in mind that Cap was under contract when he was doing them protests. And even after that season was over, he was under contract. Now, they may have cut him, they may not have, but he opted out. I always point that out to people. He opted out of that contract.
What he did, he restructured his contract to get most of his money up front and to become a free agent at the end of the season, because he was gonna get cut anyway.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. So it's not like they released it or something.
Yeah. So they wouldn't have paid him the rest of that money they had left anyway. Right. So he restructured so he get some of that money up front.
Well, he saw the writing on the wall. He saw it was coming. I honestly think he was already at peace with not playing. So when he made the decision, he made it knowing, like, I'm probably not going to play again, but I'm okay with that. I got my money. I'm financially secure. Now I'm going to do this next phase of my life, which is my calling. So a lot of the times when you've heard people say, pretty much every signing, Brandon Whedon got signed. How come they're not signing Cap? I don't think Cap's actually asking for a job right now. Like, they showed a video of him working out, I think a month or two ago. I don't think he's been seeking. I think everybody else has been asking for a job for him, but I don't think he's been looking to get signed. Like, obviously he's like, I'm in shape, whatever. But I think more people have been asking for him than himself. I think he's perfectly fine not playing, and him not playing actually proves his point further.
Yeah. Because he knows, he understands that.
If they sign him, it shuts everybody up. All right, he's got a job again. Y'all happy now? And now everything's fine. But the issue was never about him in the first place. He was just the agent of change. He was just the agitator. So it's almost better that he don't play, because if he got signed, people would say, all right, the protest can end, right? He's got signed. But the protest didn't start because of him not playing. So I was like, that often gets lost in the discussion with a lot of people. Is they always link it to him. He was just the agent of change at this moment. The issues he was protesting for is what people need to be focused on, and less about him. But no, I mean, obviously he's relevant in this conversation. But with the player protests and whatnot, I have a couple other issues with that. Because somebody online said this, and it was a good point. And they're like, I wonder if they're going to ask JJ Watt what he thinks about what McNair says. He ain't going to say nothing. He ain't going to say a thing about it. But you know what? I got a few things to say about him, and I don't want to get too far off topic. I don't think he's as good a guy as people like to pump him up to be, and they try to give him this image. And I'll tell you why. When the Ball family started, well, really LeVar Ball. When LeVar Ball started pumping up his sons and coming out with these sneakers, you know, everybody was like, how you gonna pay $500 for these sneakers? JJ Watt apparently came out with some sneakers, but instead of just promoting his sneakers, he decided to slight.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I got sneakers too, and you ain't gotta pay all this money. And it's like, that ain't got nothing to do with you, but it let me know what he's about and what he really thinks, because he could have promoted his own sneakers without putting somebody else down and deciding to throw his 2 cents into the matter. So when he did that, I started, not that I was all in on him or anything like that, but after he said that, after he did that, I looked at him a lot different. So when that hurricane came and everybody's raising money, they acted like he's the only one to ever raise money. And all of a sudden he becomes this hero and he's winning the Man of the Year thing. Oh, look what JJ Watt's doing. He's raising money. That's cool. He ain't the only one that was doing it, but somehow he got all the attention. So it just kind of turned me off from him personally. So I'm looking at this thing and what his owner is saying. And, you know, if you just type of leader, you would be like, you know, you might say something, maybe not directly about McNair, but you might speak on the issue. He ain't going to do it. Like the Eagles had Chris Long, you know, there were non-black players that spoke up on issues. Chris Long with the Eagles, you know, certain guys on other teams. You ain't going to hear a peep from no JJ Watt. You're not going to hear a peep.
Huh. And to be perfectly honest with you, like, you know, I mean, for his best interest, he better not say.
Well, of course,
better not say anything about it, because he's not. He's boxing outside his weight class if he tries to sit down and try to articulate that type of subject.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Long is a smart dude. You know what I mean? Like, even he played football, but he's a smart dude, man. He went to Virginia, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to Virginia.
It's like his pop. Yeah, he went to Virginia, so he's a smart dude. So like him coming up and saying something about it, it didn't surprise me or whatever. It didn't surprise me to the standpoint of him being able to articulate and stuff like that, because he's one of the smarter dudes in the league.
Yeah.
Now him, taking the initiative and actually saying something and doing something about it, that probably stood out to me more than anything else. But I mean, if you're a logical individual, I mean, that's the least you can do, man.
Yeah.
Because it's logic, but not too many people. What do they say? Common sense ain't common.
Not too common, no.
Yeah, but it is, but I digress. Before we go down another tunnel or whatever. So get to sleep good tonight, man. The Sixers winning a big one, man.
Yeah, like I said, I'm enjoying tonight, but I'm not going to get too carried away because there's still business to take care of.
Yeah, so we'll see how everything shake up. Season ends next Wednesday. By the time if we record next week, we better sit down and break down the playoff matchups, and then turn around. I guess we can talk about the award winners, the MVP, Rookie of the Year, first team, second team, all that type of stuff. So, man, as always, it's been real, man. As always, everybody out there's listening, I appreciate you listening. If you subscribe, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't already, please subscribe on Apple, rate and review on Apple, on SoundCloud, all that jazz. And we be back at it again next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do it again, man. Thanks for the invite, and we'll keep this going.
All right, man. Be easy.
All right. Peace out.